So the staircase has arrived here at the big build. This is an epic moment for me really, because I love putting new stuff back into the buildings. It's really nice sort of place to get to, if you like, because everything you do now going forward is all new work. So second fixing, staircasing and everything else. So today we're going to get this staircase fitted. It's all oak. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. And I think this is the first staircase that Ed's fitted to. So here is the staircase for the big build. And when it looks like this, you think, right, it's not that much, but actually there's all the components that I need. Some of the strings are pre-assembled because they can be. There's the bottom string here, so we've got some nice feature steps and a newel. Then we've got the newels that will connect to everything else. We've got the top flight, which comes away from the quarter landings. And then in the other boxes there, we've got the other strings and quarter landings. So we'll carefully get it in there. The building's lovely and dry. There's no moisture. We've got no issues with plaster drying out. All that's done, because that's really important. So we're going to get this in there now. We'll get ourselves set up and we'll start to put this in. But a couple of housekeeping rules. Always make sure you've got really nice clean hands all the way through the build, because this is oak. It's going to be finished on site. And what you don't want to do is get it grubby and sand a bit off, because if you don't sand all of it, you'll notice the bits that you've sanded off. So the name of the game is make sure you're nice and clean and tidy, and you'll have no problems at all. Just like so many jobs, fitting a staircase means being organised, making sure you've got everything that you need, and the site is in a good condition to take the staircase. So I mentioned earlier about moisture. We've got hardly any moisture in here. I monitor this building with a moisture meter. It sends me the relative humidity, so I know that we're in good shape to put in a piece of joinery such as this, which is purpose made. It's in oak and it's not finished. We'll be finishing it on site. So the stairs are going here. The foot of the stairs starts here in the room. It travels up to a quarter landing. Then we've got one step, another landing, and then it travels all the way up to the landing upstairs, the main landing upstairs, and it encompasses a cupboard underneath. We've got a series of newel posts. I've got a newel post which travels all the way down to the floor here, which will enable us to build a door on this side to access the underneath of the cupboard, the underfloor heating, etc. Some of the tools I'm going to use are drills, screwdrivers, a laser level for checking datums, maybe some clamps to pull up some of the joints. We've got a square for setting out as or where we need to, obviously spirit levels, a hammer, a soft face hammer or mallet, or if you haven't got that, you can use a block and a normal hammer. This is where you might have to tap a mortise into a newel, for example, and a handsaw. I've got a small kettle here to put a little bit of my glue in. We use the end of the glue to actually apply it to the tenons, for example. Then we brush it all around, make sure it's well coated. And where we've got other bits and pieces, we'll put the glue in a kettle and we'll use a brush to apply the glue directly to the member, if you like. Now I've got a glue here which has got a longer assembly time. So what that means is when you put all the glue around those big tenons to go into the mortises on the newel posts, you're not worrying too much about, oh, it's not going back together, or, you know, I've only got a few seconds, you've got to get the dowels out, you've got to get it true, and sometimes you really need some time. So I recommend using a glue which gives you a bit of time. So they're the bits and pieces I'm going to need. I've got all of my components here, all wrapped up. We're going to get them unwrapped. We're going to put them into a sort of a procedure, if you like, the bits we're going to use first. Now, generally speaking, we start from the top and we work our way down. Indeed, that's the case with a lot of winder staircases. We also make sure that the drawing and the manufacturer is right before you even say, yes, go ahead and manufacture it. You sign this off, so it's up to you to make sure it's right. So we've got a finished floor to finished floor. We've got our goings, and that's all basically that we need to know. So we're going to get on now, get the components out of the wrappings and start assembling it. So one thing I always like to do is check all the components, make sure everything's here, and I'm just putting the bottom of the stairs together out of the way as a dry run. A dry run basically means that I'm just going to position all the components, the newel posts, the strings, the loose steps, so the ball nose and the double curtail, and also these landing elements, just to make sure we've got everything we need. Once we know we've got everything we need, we're going to start setting the stairs out. I'm going to show you that now. Just exactly what that means, and when I say start from the top, which is where I prefer to start, I'll show you just exactly what that means. So for me, the very first job will be taking the newel post that actually makes its way from the floor, in our case, all the way up to the landing, and the wall string. So all of these top elements, we'll get those set out. Now obviously I've worked this out and I've been pretty critical about the measuring and the setting out, and working in conjunction with the stair manufacturer, with their online designer, and then speaking on the phone to them, we're able to fine tune it to exactly our needs. So I know for a fact that my riser is going to make contact, or the back of my riser is going to make contact with here, and the nosing is also going to be in the right position as it sits over the top of this joist construction over there. I'm therefore going to send a laser onto the wall. If I just turn a laser on, pop it onto the wall. Now, I've got a measurement which is basically the bottom or the landing, and that measurement for the landing enables me, I'll just measure it across here, it's 875. That enables me to then make sure I've got the correct amount of space. So that's my measurement. I'll put my laser onto that. That's 875. That's basically the construction of the landing. And then from this line, this is effectively when this newel is positioned here. Let me just get this right. When this newel is positioned here, the top string travels up and sits over there, or in between the next newel, which is here. So I know for a fact that I need a certain distance between this edge of the newel and here, and I've got 1100 dead. Now the actual amount I need is 1090, so I've got 10 millimeters of airspace, which is ample. So the whole rationale between working from the top down is we'll hang that in on these newel posts, then we'll construct this bit of landing here, so that section. We've got a newel post on this corner which actually gets rebaited round, which is a really nice detail, something that the guys and I at StairBox made sure that the stair newel came in that position. So this is the beauty of being able to design something online, talk to them and stretch and adjust, keeping it within the regulations of course, to suit your actual application. And I think that's really an amazing thing to do. So that newel gets housed around there, and then it's a very simple job. If I just pan round and show you on the other end of the room where the other staircase is. So there's the top section, and there is where I'm making up the other bit dry. So from having this here, I've got all the references, all the measurements I need. This string here is the one that goes up where I've just sort of explained. I've got to do no work on this part of the string. I've got to do minimal work on that part of the string. I've just got to take a little bit out for my flooring, and pretty much that's ready to be offered in position. So we're going to start the actual install now. We've got all the bits and pieces we need. I've checked everything. I've done a dry assembly here in the background. It basically means I've just put everything together dry. I use these undersized threaded rod dowels. So I make these up out of threaded rod like a pencil effectively, just to sort of hold everything together while it all sits here. Everything's in order, everything's going to fit nicely. The only work we've got to do initially is make a tiny adjustment to this grounds here, which we put in anticipation for the stairs. We knew where the stairs were starting, where the stairs was finishing. We needed to leave the ceiling to come into the stair void effectively, so when we make the ceiling up here, it all matches up. We've also got to shorten this batten, shorten this angle bead here for that newel. Then we need to put the housing in the newel, which is effectively taking out where it will sit over this construction here. A very simple job. So this is one of the only cuts we need to do on the stairs. This is often what you have to do on the stairs. If it fits properly, that's what you should do. You relieve here, back to the back of the riser, which is effectively this grounds here. That slots the newel in position. Then it's a matter of putting the string up against the wall and so on and so forth. So another little tip. When I'm fitting a staircase, I use the measure quite a lot, which means that I rarely use the spirit level. I use a measure. I know where my datum is. So this line here on the laser is nice and level. So I can go around and check if there's any high spots on the floor, where the newels will sit. That's all I really need to know. Because I'm starting from there and I'm traveling down, there's a set rise. In our case, it's 198 millimeters, okay? And every rise is equal. So when I get this string, the bottom string, and hook it over there, I'll need to put some temporary support under it. Now I can do one of two things. I could work out exactly where that is by multiplying the number of rises that there are. So I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rises, which is effectively from there to the top of the tread. They're 198, I'll round that up to 200, 6 twos are 12, and then I'll take off 12 millimeters. So that'll be 1188 mil. Then I just add that little bit on there, and that gives me a datum. Measure that down from here, where we're sitting on, put a level line across, and then I can attach a batten there, and that will sit on it. So then I'll just sit it on the batten there, it's nice and safe and secure, and slot the newel post that holds it here. So that's pretty straightforward. So all I have to do, cut out here for where we hook over the landing, pop a temporary batten on here or a support leg, anything you want if you don't want to necessarily drill somewhere unnecessarily. And that's it. We can pop that bit of stairs in and then start working away with the rest of our staircase. So this is the cutout that sits over our landing, effectively. So the mortise comes in this side of the string. This is the riser. That's our timber grounds up there. And that's our trimmer that it sits over. And then the plasterboard will cover that gap. So that's basically it. So you just take out that block there. Lots of people put lots of cuts through and smash it out with a chisel. But it makes a heck of a lot of mess when you can actually just do it with a simple circular saw, carefully, a bit of practice. And that's it. So the newel's ready to be slotted in position. And what we're actually doing is building the floor up by the thickness of the finished floor. So therefore, when all the floors go down, up and down, the stairs is in exactly the right position. This is an offcut of the finished floor we're using. I've positioned this, I've lasered down where the newel post is going to go. You can just see these two references on the ground. So I actually had a laser. You can do it with spirit level. You can indeed just stand it up and not go to this trouble. But I'm just lasering this down from where it finishes effectively onto the floor. Put a mark. Then I can put my packing exactly where I know it's going to go. So there we have it. So I'll just sit my newel. I'll get the newel. I'll bring it over, sit it on and slot it in. So here's the newel. Remember to have clean hands because you don't want to have to spend ages sanding stuff down, cleaning things up. It's just always a pain. It's just more work for everyone. And I mentioned it before, but moisture levels, we're really good here. We've got no excess moisture. I'm monitoring it on a daily basis. Right, so I'm just going to stand this on the bottom, roughly where it goes, and then we're going to slot it in. So that's effectively how the newel slots in. You can see where I let the plasterboard hang over so we could meet, when we come up with our plasterboard underneath, it will meet that, so there's no making good to do. And that's pretty much it then. So we're ready now to put on a batten here to take the next bit of the string, or indeed just have a simple couple of legs on the bottom, and we'll ease that section in there and get that one fixed. So the newel's hooked over, and this is our finished floor effectively, and that will be exactly flush with the nosing effectively. So that's how we've allowed it. We're sitting on exactly the same downstairs, and that will be blended into the nosing. So we're going to get this section in now, which is basically, this is the tenon that goes into the top newel post that we've put in. This section sits over the flooring. I've got to make a slight adjustment because at the moment my flooring upstairs comes all the way over here, so I just need to ease this out as well in this, exactly the same position. So I'm going to carry that on, take that out first, and then that's ready. So then we want a batten on the wall down below to sit the bottom of the string on here. We'll position that, then we'll get this newel post pushed in dry, and then we'll be able to have the whole staircase able to move in and out and in and out. And the reason why I want to do that is because I want to get the top riser and the nosing fixed on absolutely perfectly and then slide the staircase back. ground. Now if we just take it in here and put it in the right orientation, so put it down in the right, or that's it, down on the ground, so as if we were there. Now, you're going to take the top, right, I'm going to take the bottom. Just hold it there for a minute while I move. All right, so what we're going to do is going to carefully lift it up now, and then hook against the wall, push up in the air, till yours hooks over. All right, that's it. Now hold it there for a minute. So it's quite secure, so just come here, put your finger underneath that, that's all you need to do. Yeah? And I'm just going to plumb this into position at the bottom, so the mortise lines up. See, at the moment it's a bit skewed, yeah? But then it will just get to a point where it will want to come in. See, like that? So we're now somewhere near it. I'm going to get one of my pins just to hold that mortise. I'll get the rubber mallet just in case we need it to just. Okay. So now just put your pressure through it evenly. Just gently slide it back a bit. That's it. Tiny bit more. And now just wiggle and lift and slide. That's it. Keep doing that. Keep it good. A bit more. Oh, that's good. Keep going, Ed. All right, hold it there. I'm just going to one of my temporary pins in to the mortise. Well, that's got it for a minute. Now I'm just going to slot that yawl over.
Yeah.
This is where you're going to get trapped. Yeah, it should be. We need to put a sort of packer on it. Mm-hmm. Just need to. Yours is probably have a 6mm underneath your end because I've let that a bit low. So if I just put this shim here on the wall side twice. That's it. Relax. That's it. And this should see some. Keep your hand to it. That's it. Go. I'm just going to ease that in like that for a minute. Right, so just for reference, let's take a 600mm level across the tread that way, which is, I think it's here, I've got it up here. Keep that to one side, I might need that in a minute. I know that my newel's got to come up that much as well, so oh no, it hasn't because we've put the bit under it, haven't we? Yeah. Stick that on there that way. See if we want to pack up the newel at all.
Yeah, the newel
goes up the floor thickness, yeah?
Yeah.
So now we put that square the same as that underneath that newel. I'll give it a little tweak. Ready? Right?
Yeah.
We just give that a little line up now.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so you can see all that joint's closed up there.
Yeah.
This one just needs tweaking in. Nice. So, and then we've always got the measure as well. So, because we know how much each one rises, we can multiply it and check it. So for here, for example, we've got 1588. So if it was 200, it'd be 1600. But it's actually less than that. So so that's 7, that's 8 there. So that's 16. So it's around about 1588 is about the right amount. So and it goes against the wall nice as well. Yeah, okay. So now we know this is all going to go here. We're going to just get this together and held. Then what we'll do is put another pin through here, ease it forward and build the top of the stair. Get the riser in, get the nosing in, glue it all. Because we can't actually get that in any other position than here, but because we're on these newels, we can just keep moving it backwards and forwards. But what we'll do is clamp a bit of timber across the bottom, so when we slide it, it doesn't jar, and that's it.
Perfect.
Yeah, and then we'll add that little short piece of string, which we've got here, which is going to go in here next. That's going to govern where it lands, you can see that we've got enough space to just ease back off the nosing as well, which is absolutely perfect.
Nice.
Yeah?
Lovely stuff.
And then we start coming this way. So I think this might even go without, you know, from here like this, which would be nice. Which would be lovely because it saves getting the whole thing out, putting it all back in. So in the meantime, we're going to make up the top, so that we need nose in and a riser. I'm also going to just get that rubbered in there. Right, there's your nose in. So we need to measure the nose in across between the string rebates or housings and that other side. Cut that to length. Yeah. I've already eased that string edge, so we're going to cut this end off. All right. So it's got to be measured from that, obviously, housing to housing.
$775.
So we're in a good shape now to get this first bit of the stairs all fixed back and glued together. So what we have to do is we need to glue the nosing in and we need to put in the top riser at the top. Now you can't really do this and put the big newel on before and then lift it all in. It's going to be pretty tricky. If you've only got a short newel, which only comes to there, which is quite often the case, then what you could do is effectively make the top up with the newel post on and the riser and the nosing, get it all attached, because the riser needs to screw through into the back of the tread. And at the moment, I haven't got access to that unless I move my stair forward. Now, what I can do here is we built this temporary little frame here, which enables us to pretty much put this newel in. We could draw dowel this one. Now, draw doweling is a traditional joint. So this is a mortise and a tenon joint. So this the tenon's on the end of the string, the mortise is in here. There's also a series of holes which line up, but what they do is they're slightly offset. So when we bang in our dowels, it pulls it all together. Now we don't go banging in these dowels without penciling the end, but not too much, because they penetrate through, and the idea is they'll meet into the other side of the newel, okay? But they don't go all the way through. You don't want to be bashing them all the way through and breaking out the timber on the other side. So when I say penciling, working with your knife away from the body, you just hold that nice and secure, and using my thumb, I'm just literally going to just take off. It's about 6 millimeters, about 1/4 of an inch back, and I'm just taking enough off to pencil the end. And all that will do is it will enable it to locate with the hole in the tenon that's offset, okay, without smashing through it. Because if you leave them square, as you knock them through, and I've seen it done before too many times, as you knock them through, if you're leaving it square like that, it will actually, if the joint, like here, you can see that this has just been slotted in dry. So these shoulders should be nice and tight there. Because of the nature of the shape, it's fairly difficult to get a clamp on here without marking all the strings. But what you can do is make sure that you just ease the material together like that, give it a little tap. Now we're fairly parallel, but we're still not close enough to rely on the draw dowel. I mean, I can just about see the hole there, so we need to be a little bit closer as well. And we've got to get it all glued up as well. So we'll probably get this one glued in with the dowels, but then we'll ease the whole staircase forward on this one. We'll push apart the mortise and tenon, get all that glued up, put the, I'll get it for you, put the nosing in here. This is the nosing, that's the bit that joins to the landing. We've got a special rebate here for it to accept a finished floor at the top. So we'll put that in conjunction with the riser. The riser's pre-drilled on the back to take the screws which go into the tread below. This is just a standard thing. There's screws that go into the tread below, and that keeps it all really super rigid and strong. And that's a big integral part of the strength of a staircase, because the riser provides the strength to the back of that tread. If you took those screws out, it would still work, but this would start flexing, okay? And that riser also then provides the strength for the step above, because it's like a super strong section, that. And all the glue blocks are doing is holding it all together to stop any movement between the tread and the riser. So here and here, it's not meant to be a super tight fit. It's just meant to go in nicely like this. Okay, you can see there's a little bit of airspace, which is absolutely fine, and the glue blocks actually hold it all together. Traditionally, years ago, these would be solid softwood, these risers, and so they would shrink. So the glue blocks would basically stay where they were. You'd never glue the softwood into the tread, the riser to the tread. You'd always allow for a little bit of shrinkage here, but the glue blocks would keep it all rigid. But as anyone who knows has got an old staircase made from softwood or hardwood, solid, unengineered, this is engineered, which means that this is a medium density fiberboard riser, so that's not going to shrink or expand unless it gets soaked in water. All right, so let's get on and do that. So I'm going to glue this one up just to give you an example of how I do it. I'm using a brand of glue, it could be any brand of glue, but this particular one gives me a slightly longer assembly time. So I think it's quite important, because most water-based glues or PVAs, as soon as you apply them to the material, which has been kiln dried and it's perfectly dry, it sucks straight home. And if you think about this joint, you know, it's designed to be a fairly tight fit. I'll just hang my damp rag out the way, something that's really important. So what I'm saying is, as the newel post comes over, there's lots of shoulders, there's lots of areas that are going to jar. They're going to want to be tight, it doesn't want to be slack and loose. So therefore, I'm going to put some glue inside the mortise, so when I push it on, it pushes in. Because if I put too much on the tenon, as I push it in, it's going to all splurge out the sides, hence why we have a really nice damp rag as well, because you just want to clean it straight off. So we can just get some glue inside here. It's quite fluid, this glue. And then I've got a little brush. It's slightly damp. It's a very cost-effective brush, something that you can just find in like the decorators' suppliers. And I just think it just gives you that extra bit of speed you need to get the glue where you need it, okay? So you want to get both sides of that all around this little housing here. So I'll pop a bit more in there. It's like a glue pot now. A little bit around these housings. So when it all pushes together, it generally stays inside the joint here, all right? So that's well coated. Then I'm going to put a little bit on the tenon shoulders here. Not too much, but obviously there and here. It's no good putting it there because we don't know where it is. A little bit on there. And then for good measure, let's just give this a bit of glue as well. Because actually it can act a bit like a lubricant. It will actually help me with the joint as well. So there we go, a little bit on this side as well. And then we need to work on that. So the stairs is level and true. And when we put, I've got a kettle here, which I've just dropped that in. And every now and then you can pop a bit of water in, wash the brush out as well. So the idea is I know roughly where it's going to stand, and I'm going to get the joint lined up. Here we go. I've got the stairs propped on a level with a clamp on it, okay? So just got to make sure that's nice and secure, because what you don't want is it to move. There we go. So now the joint is going to slide together. Now we're going to use a rubber mallet and a little bit of pressure and ease it together until we can see that the shoulders here are nice and tight. We also want to be able to look through the drawdown and see that they line up, because the next job is to put the dowels in. The dowels have been penciled off, and we want to put a little bit of glue on the tip of that. There we go, let's just clean that glue bottle. So a little bit of glue on the tip of this. and then obviously some in the hole here. Get that in, give it a little twist. There we go. Now we want to tap that home. So a rubber mallet should do it as well. Now I can see the shoulders started to pull up. So that one's allocated. Let's get the bottom one to that point as well. A bit of glue there. There we go. Give that a little twist. Give that a little knock home. That's where I can hear it going, connecting to the joint. It's pulled that shoulder up. Now we're going to probably have to use something which has got a little bit more strength. So my hammer, but the idea of this is just tap. You know, don't go mad, because these have a tendency to split with the grain. So basically it's just a gentle blow. Now I'm through the joint. I'm right through the joint. I'm going into the other side. Now we'll take the top one to that point. You can see that the shoulder is absolutely beautiful. These shoulders here have been pulled up, so the ten has been pulled together. I'll give that another little one. Then I'm listening for a kind of change in the tone of this dowel as it hits the other side, because it's not drilled right through. There, and the same on the bottom. There. So now, damp rag, obviously, just take any excess glue out the way. This is the time to do it. All of that excess glue out the way, because we want our finish to stick. Now I leave these now until they're all in. Sometimes, for example, because we've got another newel fairly close, it's a good idea to clean them off and get them planed out the way. So now I'm just going to check all the rest of it. Everything looks really nice. I'm also going to unclamp my level here and just check that the stair is fairly plumb. So you can see from that the geometry everywhere is pretty good, because we're fairly plumb, and I haven't even bothered tapping it there. It wants to go like that. There we go. That's nice and true. So we'll also check the other way as well. And again, that's fairly nice too. So we know now the stairs is in good order. Right, okay. So the next thing is just to get the top assembled, glue this really nice long newel up, and then we'll start coming all the way through, repeating the process. What Ed's doing at the moment, he's just putting a prop underneath the stair, because all we've done is slid the whole thing forward to enable us to get our nosing and top risers in. So Ed's got a leg. He's going to attach it to the underside of this piece of the stair here. So if you just get it screwed into the end of the tread, where obviously it's never going to hurt. There you go. Give that a little tweak in there. All right. That's it. And just plumb it up this way, just so it's fairly plumb when we put a fixing in it. So I reckon something like that. Try that there. A bit more. Good?
Yeah.
So we need to just attach that carefully without obviously coming through. Yeah, so you need to get that exactly right, and attach a decent screw in there to make it. And then we'll just ease it further forward, put all those bits together, and the job is a good one. So that's my riser and nosing all fixed back nice now. So this is the awkward bit sometimes, because I've had cases before where I've actually had to try and wriggle them in from the other side and do, you know, a different fixing arrangement. But it's nice if it's connected traditionally to the stairs. So now all we need to do is slide the stair back, make sure it's all nice and true, and fill the bottom in. The next bit is actually a very speedy process. I've had a really good day today putting in this staircase. It's one of those jobs that I always feel that you kind of know how long it's going to take based on ones you've done before. But most staircases are completely different to the previous one unless you're lucky enough to be doing the same style of house over and over and over again. So anyway, as I say, this is an engineered oak staircase from StairBox. We've done really well today to get all these components in perfectly true, attached to the floor upstairs to allow for the finished floor, also sitting up to the thickness of the finished floor downstairs here. It's all ready to go. So if you like, I've done the first fix or the first part of the staircase, and the last job for me is to go around putting in the glue blocks on all the risers that I've fitted as we've put the different sections of staircase together. Now, it's a fairly straightforward job. You just put loads of glue on the back and you squash them and squash them. A vacuum is formed instantly with the glue, and it's a super satisfying thing to do. So that's about it for this video on the staircase at the big build. We're going to be doing more video on the staircase at the big build. We've got the glass balustrades to go in. We've got the handrails to go in. We've also got a cupboard that we're forming under the stairs as well. So it's looking absolutely mint. There's some other little jobs to do. For example, let me get back here, cleaning off all of the dowels. And I think that's worth featuring in the next installment. So please check back to the channel soon. I'm Robin Clevitt. This is The Big Build. Thanks for joining me.